Meanwhile, in another corner of the Triverse, just through the portal, lies the Mirrorverse, a realm where every shadow tells a story. A slight distance from Jupiter, space began to fold in on itself, engulfing the latest Earth vessel. This ship, built at the Nova Heavy Industries shipyard, was the only one that had remained undetected and intact after the mechanoids' assaults. It was also the birthplace of the solemn Vanguard, one of two dreadnoughts, destined to become known centuries later as the Cosmos Devourer. This vessel, however, was much smaller, not designed to break through enemy lines but to hunt and exterminate them, just as they had tried to do to us. Powered by an experimental black hole reactor, the only one in the galaxy, and equipped with humanity's most advanced technologies, it stood as a solitary symbol of human defiance against the threat of annihilation. Its sleek, angular shape sliced through the universe, moving away from a planet that once buzzed with life. Earth, now only a broken up into pieces, charred shell, remained silent in the space void, left behind in its wake. Its Trion drive humming with the power of a collapsed sun, the ship had a singular mission: to confront Earth's destroyers alone. There was no backup on the way. Its name, the N-Tech Vanguard 1, their last and final ship design, further made possible by Nova Heavy Industries, once their rivals, now their allies, or at least what was left of their branch. Captain Orion Black stood at the viewport, his eyes locked on the diminishing blue planet. The responsibility of leadership weighed on him, more burdensome than the force of 1,000 planets. He embodied determination, yet the reflection in the window showed a glimmer of sadness for the home he would never return to. First Officer Mira Rin, daughter of the renowned Vecca and her crew of the Requiem, Nicordus, Paradox, and Faleri, a vessel originally under the command of Commander Atlas Vale, but by luck found. It came from a future far removed from today's events, who through many hardships had fought the mechanoids across time and space, made some of this possible today, as she stood beside him, her presence offering quiet support. "It's hard to believe it's gone," she murmured, with no need to specify what it was. The sense of loss was tangible, felt by everyone on board. The N-Tech flagship, Requiem, last seen 2 decades ago and presumably lost to a spatial rift, its last broadcast sent out a final warning: "We failed. Do not wait for us." This mission rested now solely on this ship, hence why Mira had been stationed on it. Vecca would have wanted it this way. Orion turned, his expression set in resolve. "We can't afford the luxury of grief, Rin. Not now." His voice was steady, yet it echoed with a mutual sorrow. "The mechanoids stripped us of everything. We are the last hope to end their rule. With or without the Requiem, we have to do it." The bridge hummed with subdued activity, each member of the 6-person crew stationed at their post. Chief Engineer Turner kept vigilant watch over the ship's core, making sure that the black hole reactor and the dark matter cannon served as a symbol of hope be kept in pristine condition. Dr. Zhou, the lead scientist, was engrossed in her calculations, each figure a step towards vengeance. Sergeant Harper, the tactical officer, went over defense plans, his thoughts fortifying against the imminent battle. Vasquez, the communications officer, sifted through frequencies, his ears attuned to the galaxy's faint murmurs. Singh, the navigation officer, plotted their journey through the celestial void, guiding them through the darkness. Dr. Rivera, the medical officer, stood at the ready to heal both the physical and emotional wounds inflicted by the war. The lively banter that once echoed among the crew, a sign of their tight bond, had quieted down, replaced by a gravity befitting their mission. Yet, in the quiet, an unspoken understanding lingered, a connection strengthened by loss and the collective goal that propelled them onward. "Remember, we're not just seeking revenge for Earth," Black spoke to his crew, his voice breaking the silence. "We're fighting for every world under threat from the mechanoids. We bear the galaxy's hopes on our shoulders." Rin nodded, her determination reflecting that of the captain. "And we won't fail them, especially not with our ace in the hole." Her gaze shifted towards the chamber containing the dark matter cannon, its potent energy dormant but poised to deliver devastation to their foes. Turner broke the tense mood with a touch of his characteristic humor. "Just let me know before you fire that thing. I'd rather not be turned into stardust while I'm tightening a bolt." Zhou, always the scientist, clarified. Theoretical stardust, Turner. This replica cannon hasn't been tested yet, and the original was lost together with the Requiem. Her tone was clinical. Harper grunted, focused on the tactical display. Let's just make sure it turns those mechanoids into actual dust. Theoretical victories won't win this war. A week into their journey, in the vast expanse of space, speckled with distant starlight, was abruptly disrupted as a mechanoid destroyer, 10 times the size of Vanguard 1, sliced through the void. Its arrival was silent but foreboding, signaling the looming battle. Vanguard 1, a lone symbol of defiance, readied itself for the confrontation. Orion's voice was steady, tinged with resolve. Battle stations, this is what we've prepared for. His order reverberated down the hallways, a rallying cry that spurred the crew into immediate action. Rin at his side eyed the approaching craft with a tactical mindset. These ships usually aren't solitary. This could be the edge of a larger snare. Let them come, Harper stated firmly, preparing the ship's armaments. We'll deliver a welcome they'll remember. Singh tweaked the ship's path, setting up for evasive maneuvers. I'll keep us agile. It'll make it tougher for them to target us. Turner's voice came through the comms, tinged with concentration and a hint of thrill. Cannons charged and ready. Give the order and I'll light up the sky. Jo kept her eyes on the energy readings, her brain swiftly trying to anticipate the enemy's tactics. Be cautious of their weaponry. While we have the Requiem's future tech, the mechanoid's technology can still be lethal. We still don't know what happened to them. Vasquez continued his watch over the frequencies, vigilant and silent. No distress signals yet. We might have caught this one unaware. The ship deployed all of its weaponry, multiple positron cannons aimed at them, then unleashed a barrage of beams towards Vanguard 1. The battle unfolded like a dance of death, showcasing the crew's expert training and the ship's capabilities. Rin's voice radiated confidence. Harper, return fire. Singh, evasive maneuvers. Harper responded instantly, sending a volley of precise shots that lit up the space between them. Take that, you rust buckets. Singh's piloting was like poetry in motion, the ship dodging and weaving with elegance. Try and catch us now. The scout ship, persistent, shifted its tactics, launching a net of energy aimed to ensnare Vanguard 1. It was an unexpected move. Jo, we need an edge, Orion declared, focused on the intense battle. Jo responded without delay, rerouting a burst of power to shields and setting up a feedback pulse. It might just scramble their systems. Do it, Orion commanded, his faith in her judgment complete. The feedback pulse unleashed a torrent of energy that coursed through the mechanoid's net, overloading its grappler, breaking its grip, and sending the vessel staggering back, the overload causing a cascading explosion in the vessel, as the ship was momentarily disabled. Now, Turner! Orion's command served as the trigger. With pleasure, Captain. Turner fired the dark matter cannon at its theoretical power output, sending a devastating beam of dark energy that struck the scout ship with pinpoint accuracy. The impact was nothing less than impressive, boring a hole through the ship and nearly bisecting it, its shields failing to even momentarily halt the shot. The beam reduced the enemy to mere space dust in an instant. Silence reclaimed the void of space, the brief skirmish ending as suddenly as it had begun. The crew of Vanguard 1, their determination reinforced, shared a fleeting moment of victory. Yet there was no time for celebration, only a quiet reflection and the tacit recognition of the long journey ahead. Rin turned to Orion, a brief smile of victory on her lips. One down, but the galaxy is filled with shadows. We'll be ready for them. Orion nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars once more. Let them come. We'll be waiting. As Vanguard 1 resumed its course, the crew's bond was strengthened, and their mission became even more defined. In the silence that followed their encounter with the mechanoid destroyer, the crew of Vanguard 1 faced a challenge far greater than the physical confrontations they were trained for. The dark matter cannon, their most powerful weapon, had demonstrated its catastrophic capability, yet its utilization introduced a profound ethical dilemma that hung in the air, denser than the void of space itself. Something the engineer of the Requiem, Nicordus, had no qualms with. He were of the thought, shoot first, don't ask questions later. Orion called for a meeting in the command center, his face serious, reflecting the gravity of the discussion ahead. "We've seen what the cannon can do," he started, his voice firm. "It's our greatest asset and potentially our biggest liability. I want to hear your thoughts on its use." Rin, always a reliable voice of reason, was the first to express the discomfort that many harbored. "It's not just a weapon, it's a declaration. Using it without restraint would make us no better than those we're fighting against." "Sorry, Mom, but it's true," speaking as if her mother was still standing right next to her. Turner, who had managed the cannon's operation, leaned in. "We need to consider the practical aspects. It's powerful, yes, but it has limitations. Overuse could cause catastrophic malfunctions. Not to mention, the energy required to fire it is massive. Although this ship was modeled after the Requiem, it's made with vastly inferior components that could possibly fail at the worst moment." Joe, whose expertise in dark matter was vital to the cannon's well-being, added depth to the conversation. "There's also the unknown element of dark matter manipulation. We're venturing into unexplored scientific realms. It works. But that's all we know. The effects could reach further than just the immediate targets. Something even the crew of the Requiem doesn't even know." Harper, always focused on strategy, viewed it through a tactical lens. "It's a deterrent, certainly, but relying on a single weapon, particularly one this potent, could obscure other, perhaps more nuanced methods of engagement." Vasquez, who had been quietly observing, brought up a critical consideration. "What about the signal it sends? If it becomes known that we have the capability to obliterate planets, the mechanoids or even other aliens may become our enemies, or try to snatch it away from us. We also can't be everywhere at the same time." Singh offered a navigator's insight. "And let's not overlook our moral compass. Our mission was to defend what remains of humanity, not to become agents of destruction on a cosmic scale." Rin, deep in thought, reflects on the stories her mother used to tell, sighs and rests her palm against her face, then agrees with what is being said, but not before remembering one particular story. The Requiem, under her mother's vigilant oversight, contributed significantly to the well-being of the galaxy, yet there were times it inadvertently caused sheer devastation. Like the incident when they provided aliens with the coordinates of a sun, not realizing the aliens would jump to it without verification. The resulting terror and panic broadcast across the void as their ships plummeted into the sun's gravitational pull was horrific. Falera always insisted it was merely an error, while doing his typical "I don't care" shoulder shrug, but his knack for persuasion was as effective on people as it was on aliens. If not for that critical moment when the aliens had their sights on the vessel, adrift in space, barely functional, with a creature running amok on board, none of them might have survived. Falera's intervention was crucial. It's the reason she, us, and many others are still alive today. The debate continued intensely, with each member grappling with the ramifications of wielding such formidable power. It highlighted the varied backgrounds and convictions that had come together under the mission of Vanguard 1. Yet, despite their differences, they found common ground. A dedication to balancing the urgent needs of their mission with the preservation of their humanity. Orion listened attentively, his respect for his crew growing. "We're in agreement, then. The dark matter cannon is our last resort, not our first response. We'll employ it judiciously, fully conscious of the outcomes." Rin nodded, making eye contact with each crew member. "Let's remember who we are and what we're fighting for. The mechanoids might not cherish life, but we do." The meeting ended, but the gravity of their decision remained palpable. As they dispersed, the crew carried with them a rejuvenated sense of purpose. As Vanguard 1 sailed through the cosmos, the dark matter cannon, a symbol of their strength, also stood as a reminder of their humanity. They would proceed with caution, employing their capabilities with prudence and moderation, recognizing that true might is measured not by the capacity to obliterate, but by the wisdom to preserve. Navigating through uncharted stretches of space, Vanguard 1 entered a system absent from any star charts, a cosmic maze filled with stellar anomalies and magnetic storms. Singh, their experienced navigator, displayed a look of concentration, her fingers swiftly moving over the console to plot a path through the chaotic tempest enveloping them. "We've deviated from our planned trajectory," Singh reported, her tone tinged with worry. These anomalies are disrupting our navigation systems. I'm doing everything I can to maintain our course." Orion stood resolute in the face of uncertainty, his gaze fixed on the view screen where the swirling colors of the nebula cast shifting hues across his face. "Keep at it, Singh. There's always a way through." The crew's morale was a blend of apprehension and determination. Harper, vigilant for any potential threats, couldn't help but comment, "Well, if we wanted a scenic route, I'd say we hit the jackpot." Turner, keeping an eye on the ship's systems, added his own bit of dry humor. "Let's just hope this scenic route doesn't include a free tour inside a black hole." Their course was uncertain, but their spirits were buoyed. The path ahead was uncharted, yet for the crew of Vanguard 1, the voyage itself was vital, each system traversed, a step closer to their overarching mission. Despite the outward calm of space, Vanguard 1 was anything but tranquil. A series of unexplained malfunctions began to afflict the ship, each occurrence more troubling than the last. Initially considered mere wear and tear from their relentless voyage, they had been in space for months now. The series of malfunctions soon revealed a more sinister possibility: sabotage. Orion called an emergency meeting, the seriousness of the situation reflected in the somber expressions of his crew. "Someone or something on board is undermining our mission," he stated, his voice cutting through the heavy silence filled with disbelief. Rin, always the rational voice, unlike her mother, sought to temper the growing panic. "We need to handle this systematically." Turner, the chief engineer, had first noticed the irregularities. The life support systems were tampered with, and the navigation database has been corrupted. This wasn't a malfunction, it was deliberate. Suspicion now shrouded Harper's mind, his instincts repurposed for internal scrutiny. Every one of us had access, and every one of us had the opportunity. The real question is, who had the motive? We are all in this together. Unless one of us isn't who they claim to be, looking at Rin, then stating that you used to be friends with a mechanoid. Rin, clearly taken back, responded, "Monger or Buster Prime wouldn't do such a thing. They were on the human side, our side. Besides, they were mechrons, not mechanoids. There is a clear distinction between the two." Turner replies, "Mechrons aren't any different on the other side of the Triverse. They also destroy all life as they find it. They just don't fuse with it. Its designation as warmonger is even in its name. How can you be so sure? Or was it just all miracles on board the Requiem?" Joe yelled, "Enough!" She was typically engrossed in her scientific pursuits, but was hit hard by the wave of mistrust. "We're a crew, a team. It's hard to believe that any one of us could do this." Her voice faltered, the notion too painful to fully articulate. "If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be out here in space to begin with." Vasquez, responsible for communications, proposed another angle. "I'll monitor all transmissions, both internal and external. There might be an unseen observer among us. If our saboteur is communicating with someone outside, I'll find it," Vasquez affirmed, committed to uncovering any external collusion. Meanwhile, Singh, whose role as navigator had been directly impacted by the corrupted databases, devoted herself to restoring their navigational integrity. "We're essentially blind in space until I can fix this. Every moment we're off course is a moment lost." The crew undertook their responsibilities amid a cloud of mistrust. Orion coordinated a discreet investigation, poring over logs, conducting interviews with crew members, and meticulously analyzing every recent activity for indicators of duplicity. As the investigation intensified, the strain on the crew's once strong camaraderie was palpable. The usual light-hearted banter was replaced by terse, cautious exchanges. Every word was carefully weighed, every look filled with unspoken suspicion. Rin, feeling the pressure, defended her actions passionately, her frustration visible. "I've been with this project, this ship from the start," she argued. "Why would I risk everything we're working towards now?" Orion, understanding yet resolute, responded, "It's not about past loyalty, Rin. It's about the actions taken now. We must explore every possibility." It was then that Rin snapped his neck like a twig. However, it was just a vivid daydream reflecting something Nicortis might have done when he couldn't provide an answer. A faint smile crossed her face as she remembered another one of the bedtime stories they used to tell her. Like that one time he yelled, "Good luck!" while he... Just then, Orion snapped her out of her reverie during the interrogation. "Rin, we are done for now," he said. The turning point in their investigation came unexpectedly. Vasquez, while meticulously scanning through communications, detected an anomaly, a hidden data packet embedded within the ship's maintenance logs. "I found something," Vasquez announced, his voice tinged with both triumph and unease. "It's encrypted, but it definitely shouldn't be here." With Joe's technical prowess, they managed to decrypt the message, uncovering a series of sabotage instructions that were coded, yet unmistakable mechanoid in origin. The source of the instructions was astounding. It came from the scout ship that they had destroyed months before at the start of their journey. Mere moments before its destruction, the scout ship had sent a burst of data to Vanguard 1, which included an AI component. However, because the enemy ship was destroyed so swiftly by the dark matter cannon, only a fraction of its code was uploaded. Had it been fully transmitted, it could have taken control of Vanguard 1, or worse, caused it to self-destruct. This revelation brought a mixture of relief. They hadn't been betrayed by one of their own. Instead, they had almost fallen victim to the cunning mechanoids. A stark contrast to the straightforward Macron from the other dimension that would just use brute force. This incident, while initially distressing, ultimately strengthened their unity. They had confronted the ghost of betrayal and came out stronger, their trust in each other reinforced. The crew of Vanguard 1, once riddled with suspicion, now stood united, more resolved than ever to continue their mission. As they prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, the breach had become a catalyst for their solidarity, transforming a moment of vulnerability into a renewed commitment to their collective purpose. And with that, we draw the curtain on Part 1 of the Triverse story of Vanguard 1. Stay tuned for Part 2 next week, the conclusion, where our journey into the unknown continues. If you've stuck with me up to this point, a heartfelt thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to remind you that my entire channel is dedicated to the Triverse and its enthralling mechanoid saga, while many of the stories stand alone, allowing you to dive in at any point. Crafting these narratives takes about 4 or 5 days each, so your patience is greatly appreciated. If you find yourself enjoying what you see, consider exploring more of my videos. Each one, in its own unique way, weaves together more of the overarching story I'm telling.